Have you ever stopped and wondered if there's more to happiness than just, those little bursts of joy we get? What if there's a different kind of fulfillment out there, something deeper, something that actually lasts? Well, today we're going to dive into exactly that. We're exploring an ancient idea that might just hold a timeless answer.
It all starts with this massive question, right? What is a truly good life? I mean, philosophers have been wrestling with this one for centuries. And we're not talking about what makes you happy for an afternoon, but what makes a life genuinely fulfilling from start to finish.
So often, we get stuck chasing these fleeting pleasures. You know the drill: the new phone, the next promotion, the weekend binge watch. But the ancient Greeks, they were on a completely different quest. They were after something they called human flourishing, a kind of deep well-being that comes from living a life that's true to who you are.
And this, right here, brings us to a very modern problem. We're constantly told that real happiness is just around the corner, if we just get that next thing or achieve that next goal. But that can turn into a real trap. Yeah, it's kind of like being on a treadmill. We're running and running, chasing these external things, what society says should make us happy, but we never really get anywhere meaningful, do we? We just end up tired, chasing a version of happiness that never quite fills us up.
So, how do we get off this treadmill? Well, the answer might actually be hiding in plain sight, in a piece of ancient wisdom that points to a totally different path.
And that path has a name: Eudaimonia. Now, it's a Greek word, and it means so much more than just happiness. It's about flourishing. It's about living up to your potential. It's about reaching the highest good a person can, and you do it by living a life of virtue.
Listen to how Aristotle put it. The key word here, the one you really got to focus on, is activity. See, eudaimonia isn't something you just feel. It's something you do. It's a practice, a whole way of living your life, not just some passing mood.
And Aristotle wasn't the only one thinking about this. The idea goes way back. Socrates connected it to knowing yourself. Plato linked it to living a just and fair life. But it was really Aristotle who laid it all out for us in his famous work, the Nicomachean Ethics. So yeah, this has been a central question for a very, very long time.
Okay, so what does this activity of flourishing actually look like in practice? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the blueprint, the core principles that really make up a eudaimonic life.
When you boil it all down, it comes down to these 5 key ideas. It's all about practicing virtue, using our uniquely human ability to think and reason, living authentically, being a part of a community, and, maybe most importantly, finding balance in everything.
Let's just zoom in on one of those for a second: living in accordance with nature. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go live in the woods. It means understanding your own unique potential, your personal operating system, if you will, and then aligning your life with that instead of what everyone else tells you to want. It's really about authenticity.
And this idea of balance, Aristotle had a brilliant term for it: the golden mean. He argued that virtue is almost always the perfect midpoint between two extremes. Think about it. Courage is the mean between being reckless on one side and being a coward on the other. True flourishing is found in that sweet spot of moderation, not in going to extremes.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing for ancient Greece, right? But how in the world do we actually use this philosophy in our crazy, busy modern lives? Let's get practical. So here it is. Think of this as a 6-step toolkit, all based on these ancient principles. It's about intentionally working on your character, spending your precious time on things that actually matter, nurturing your relationships, avoiding those extremes we talked about, taking time to check in with yourself, and looking beyond your own life to help others.
So what does cultivating virtues really even look like day to day? Well, think of virtue as a muscle. Every small choice you make is a workout. It's choosing to be honest when it would be way easier to tell a little white lie. It's choosing kindness when you're feeling frustrated, or choosing courage when you're scared. It's all these tiny actions, day after day, that build a flourishing character over a lifetime.
Look, trying to live a life like this isn't always easy, but the payoff is absolutely profound. So why does this whole journey toward flourishing really, truly matter? The benefits here go way beyond just feeling good. We're talking about a deep, unshakable sense of well-being, a real commitment to always be learning and growing as a person. And because this whole philosophy is so focused on community, it naturally leads to stronger bonds with the people around you. And ultimately, it gives you a solid foundation for living a truly ethical and meaningful life.
And that right there brings us right back to the main point. Eudaimonia isn't some destination you finally arrive at.
It's not a quick fix. It is the conscious, continuous, active process of building a life of deep and lasting fulfillment, brick by brick.
So that leads us with one last, very personal question. As you think about all these ideas, virtue, meaning, balance, what's one small thing, one single activity you can do today to start building your own flourishing life?